Good morning or good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Agency Connection Points peer-to-peer workshop that will be conducted today by Dr. Natalie Skeepers. Give me 2 seconds. Just going to do a short introduction, and then Natalie can take the lead. Dr. Natalie Skeepers, she is a seasoned governance, risk, and independent compliance consultant and has a wide range of industry experience that stretches across the public and private sector over the last 20 years. She holds a PhD in engineering management from the University of Johannesburg. She has a master's in science in health and safety. She has an MPhil in HIV/AIDS management degree, and she also serves on several boards as a non-executive director. Today's topic will be building credibility and adding value as a safety professional in your organization or community. Thank you very much, Natalie. You can take the lead.
Morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes,
can
I can
you
hear
see
you.
me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your time. I'm sure everybody's busy. And Fabian, once again, I want to say thank you for doing this. I think we sit with all this stuff in our heads, and it's about time that we share. You know, I've always wanted to share my experience with people, but I think there's a lot of topics. You must just force me to do more. Okay. So I had a lot of time to think about, what am I going to share? I'm not going to do the technical training because I think there's a lot of us that have that experience. And as I was listening into the presentation the other day on confined spaces, I think we have enough resources. So I'm going to branch out and deal with the softer things because I think it will definitely help us to improve where we want to be. And this is all about moving up that ladder. So yeah, if you don't know me, I can get a little bit unconventional and rub you a little bit. So I want all of us to enjoy the presentation, and yeah, let's go. Thank you for that introduction. So let me just see, why is it not moving? I have to move it myself. So 2020 is not done yet, guys. We still have a lot of stuff to do, and our organizations expect a lot from us, online, offline, and you have to continue working. And obviously, some of us need to continue working. So if we were in another situation, I would have, dealt with your goals, how far you are with your goals, and have you accomplished those business goals. But where you are now, for you to continue doing what you need to do, the topic is about your credibility. And can you show your management that even if you're working under these circumstances, you are able to deliver and you are reliable, amongst other things. I pulled this from one of the books I read many years ago, one of the articles, and I can't remember the author. But the question to you, my friend, is why should you be led by anyone? Okay, you. Whether you are Tele or Johanna, Fabian, Joseph, just think about it. Why you? And why should you be advising management? And you know that if it's not you, consultants like myself will come in. Some of us play the game well. We don't want you to look bad. We work well with you. But in reality, I want to leave you with this question at the end. Why should it be you? And there's a reason for this, and you can work around that. So that's me. I'm safety. I am safety. And I'm not that angry today. So let's move on. We have a lot of roles that we need to fulfill as safety professionals. Right now, we're expected to know everything and anything about COVID-19. An area that I've not really ventured into because I think there's a lot of information out there. But yes, your organization will expect you to do some little homework and advise management. So, Mr. Compliant, are you a team player? Are you a coach? And how do you get your organization, community to listen to you and show your commitment? Now, being a safety professional over the years, I have a few views on it, and luckily I could find information on how I could assist with charting through some of these difficult topics. I want you to focus on the part that says you need to be a confident leader, where you embrace new ideas and change, and you have the mindset that you want others to succeed. And take responsibilities for when things don't work out, when there's failings on your part. Right, so there's a lot on the slide, and focusing on how do you develop people around you. One of the things I did in my career when I had many people reporting to me, I always made sure I employed smart people and people that if they in my space, I promote their skills, their talent, because if they can do all the work, I have little bit time to do what I like to do and engage management, senior management, boards, and executives. And you allow people to grow in their own way instead of, being a micro manager. The last thing on this slide is you defend your people. If you are in an executive position as a safety manager or in a team where you're heading up safety, make sure that if you're making decisions collectively and you've agreed on certain decisions and how you're going to proceed, you need to defend your decisions. Don't be flaky and don't flake out and throw people under the bus, because your day will come where professionals and safety people working with you, even secretarial staff that does your minutes and things like that, you need to defend your people. That is all part of building your credibility. What does that say? It says that my boss will stand behind me, my colleague will stand behind me through thick and thin. I'm not talking about standing behind people when they've done the wrong things, but when you guys have collectively made decisions, you need to stand by it. So a lot of this talks to integrity. Now I pulled up Bob Marley because I actually like his music. You may find that very strange, yeah. I grew up in that era where we used to listen to Bob Marley, and if you actually go deeply into his songs and the words, he was way ahead of his time. And I've watched his biography many years ago, and I was actually surprised that he died of a very simple thing in terms of cancer in his toe, that could have been prevented. But he was a great artist, and he said the greatness of a man is not in how much wealth he acquires, but in his integrity and his ability to affect those around him positively. In today's society, we have a real problem with integrity. And integrity is not all about where you are in your life and what wealth you've acquired, but what you say matters. Okay? I pulled out this slide because I did some training some time back, and one of my topics was about problem solving, because when you're in a leadership position, you no longer deal with the mundane things of, how did that stone get there or the rock? You need to solve problems. And I asked the class, there was about 200 people in the class, how do we solve this problem? Remember, as safety people now, we're going to look at risk assessments. Sometimes we delve so deep into...
Just go to that screen.
Pardon? Pardon? Did someone say something?
I think the guys forgot to mute their device.
Okay.
Apologies.
So what we don't do is who put the rock there? Okay, because you can say God put the rock there, and then what? What you need to do as a professional is how do we go about solving this problem? Do you want to blow this thing up? Get some explosives? And those were the discussions we had in the class. And because if you work when you work in a team, the dynamics come out in terms of how everybody's individual and collective thoughts around dealing with problems. At the end, when you walk out of there, that rock needs to be gone. By hook or by by hook or by crook. So when you sit down and you think about your processes on how do you go about solving problems, this is also key when management looks at you. Do you deflect and say, well, I did not put that rock there. Let's talk to the company that put it there, or let's ask God why it appeared there. What you're employed to do is to solve problems. I'm not sure if you joined in the last session I had, and this is my motto in life. If you're not able to solve problems in an organization that you are with right now, guess what? They don't need you, because you've only been hired to solve problems, nothing else. You've not being hired to fraternize and socialize and be the celebrity in that organization or be the go-to guy for things. Organizations hire us first and foremost and only to solve problems. Otherwise, they could bring in somebody else, and that they will do the job and they'll do it better. And that means there's no longer need for you. Right. Getting our hands dirty. I remember many times in my career where I had to be called upon to get involved in other departments' responsibilities and roles. And I'll tell you a simple story of what happened. When I worked in the railways, we had a problem in Rustenburg with a lot of level crossing accidents. And one day my boss called me and he said, listen, we've actually realized that the paint on the road has deteriorated and you can't see the markings anymore. So please go to Krugersdorp and collect the special paint and drop it off somewhere in Rustenburg and make sure that the guys get the paint and use it to put it on the road so that we can solve the problem at the end, which was level crossings. And I looked at this thing and I'm like, now I'm going to go and collect paint and I must deliver paint. And is that really part of my responsibility? No, but I also realized that I've got to be a team player and I've got to be part of solving the problem. So I went with a colleague of mine, luckily, and I took a guy with, because I thought, oh, if I'm picking up paint, it's going to be containers and I need somebody to help me. So the guy went with me. When we got there, the staff at the stores said, listen, you can have the paint. And by the way, I had to pay for it. I still didn't get my money back. I think I paid 2,000 Rand. This is 2011. I still don't have my money. I need to go and get it back. Right, so we collected the paint and the stores guy said, look, we're not going to do this. It's late, it's Friday. And myself and Dion ended up having to find the paint markers and the rollers and stuff. And we ended up painting that piece of road with the paint markers and stuff they gave us. I think back now and I'm like, that was basically sort of illegal because you're not allowed to do stuff like that, only the municipal workers. But I had to get my hands dirty. And we weren't on social media, we weren't taking pictures, and like you couldn't brag about it, but it happened. And we left there, everything was done. So we were basically left with a task that was way, way, way beyond our competence level, but we had to do it and get it done. So yes, as a safety professional, you're not going to always pick and choose the nice things that you need to do. You may have to get involved and solve problems because even if we have not created them, okay? Taking responsibility and accepting that you are the same. Sorry, I can't read here. The pictures are here. So you have to be part of the solution. We have to make sure that this is something we do to help the company move forward. Right, this slide is very busy. Some of you have emailed me and asked me, can we share some slides? Can we share some material? So as I'm going along, please take notes. I'm happy to share some of the slides. I know that I spend a lot of time looking for information, so you will appreciate that. It's also part of my IP, but I'm happy to share some of the slides with you. So like particularly this one, I think it would be of value if you can look at the evolution of the employee, the slide on the left, the past and the future. Now let's talk about the future. And I think if you can drill down on that, it will help you. So just further down in the slide, it's about creating your own ladder, customizing your work. Before you had predefined work set of rules. The next one talks about sharing information. You need to share information in your organization, and if people want things from you, you're going to have to provide that. And become a leader. There is this fight and theories and discussions around, are people born leaders, are people made leader? Man, you're a leader in every way, in your home, in your church, anything that you do. People look up to people that have a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of access to information. And you'll be that leader when you are put under pressure and realize that, wow, I actually didn't know that I had this kind of tenacity or skills to move forward or to do things. So I believe, this is my thought because I teach on the subject, that yes, leaders can be made, and with the right attitude and the right motivation and the right training and understanding, there's no such thing of people are born like this or that. That's just my view. Fabian, that's probably a topic we can research in terms of the work that we want to do. Relies on collaboration, focus on adaptive learning, and democratize learning and teaching, which I'll talk about later. So you need to increase the value, your value in your organization. You need to know things before things are being asked for, things are being questioned, meaning that you got to stay on top of your game. That means you have to research, you must understand trends, you must know what's new, you must know what technologies are available to share with your organization, know what other organizations in the similar business is doing. If you're an oil and gas company, find out what solutions are they doing, applying and adapting. Because the workplace of the future is exactly what we're experiencing now, in a digital workplace. So I'm wondering how some of us have adapted. I've adapted easily because I've always have Wi-Fi, I've got few computers, laptop stuff, but it must be difficult for other people that have kids around and everybody's in a small space running around. So you need to adapt all the time. This digital workplace is going to become the norm because guess what? We have now proved to our employers and the people we work with that we can do this. And we're able to deliver in the setup in terms of what we're doing. Now, you need to go back to all your workplace policies from an HR perspective, from a supply chain perspective, from employee engagement. How are you going to do toolbox talk sessions if everybody has to be offline, or you can only engage them via digital means? All right, so that's just a very busy slide talking about how some companies are integrating the future of work, and I can share that slide. And how you spend your resources matter. I always hear people saying, but I don't have time for this. I don't have time to do that. It's important, even if you keep a little diary, to establish how you spend your time, just to get a sense of what you're doing, how you're doing things, and then reset that clock in terms of if you're in office and you're office bound and you have to be spending time in meeting, how do you delegate? How do you listen to what people are saying? Or do you take all the work on yourself and not share it with the people in your team? Or find some way of making sure that there's shared and co-responsibilities. Now, just delving into the credibility issues. I am an avid TED Talk listener. So as I mentioned in my last session, I do this religiously every morning before and after I do my things. I go onto a TED Talk because that's my food. That's what is feeding me and my perspective and the way I see life. And that's what I do. You may read a book. For me, it takes too long now. I'm tired of books. I must be honest. I read a lot, and I just also want to listen and receive from other people. So it's important to learn from others. So I've just shared this slide. I'm going to send it to Fabian to share it with the group. And Barry Posner talks about why credibility is the foundation of leadership. I'm not going to repeat what he said. I think as part of our homework, Can we do that? Can you go and listen to this TED Talk? I'll send the slide so you can find the thing. So part of credibility is trust. And we know how trust works, that if you say you're going to do things, you need to do it. If you're going to deliver on deadlines, you need to do that. And having regard for others and how our decisions and our actions plan them, so affect them. So you must understand that you have to also act in the best interest of others, not only because you are the safety professional and you wrote the procedures and you understand the procedures. I mean, we're way past that. That doesn't work anymore, right? Your flexibility in the workplace also says a lot. I've had many examples of how I also had to be flexible in my thinking. I'm not talking about your body flexibility, Fabian. You have to be flexible in your mindset, flexible in your views, flexible in how you do things. If someone says to you, okay, can we start this project 7 o'clock and you usually at work at 9, it's not an everyday thing, but also try and accommodate other people and trying to understand what are other people's challenges. Maybe the person has to leave earlier because they got to go and pick someone up or drop something or be somewhere. So you have to have that kind of flexibility. Also when you're developing policies, I'm watching an interesting series on TV. Maybe you've watched it, I don't know. I've just gotten onto it. It's called House of Cards and it's about American politics. And I'm watching a scene where they're debating about the education bill and how everybody has to give and everybody has to take. And what people need to do to get to the end game. Some of it not so good, almost criminal. But what I'm saying is be flexible in your thinking, because this is all about your leadership and it's all about how people will view you. I know at some point, I heard a manager tell another manager that I'm very dogmatic. And when I overheard this conversation, they were trying to ask one another, would I agree to something? And this guy said to the other one, I'm very dogmatic, and he doesn't think I would ever adhere to what they wanted me to do. And it's something to do about work. I felt very bad because I didn't know that people viewed that of me. And I thought that I was flexible, but thinking about what was going on in the conversation, I realized that, goodness me, I am dogmatic. It's like my way or the highway. It's black and white. And that's not how life works. So I had to learn these things. I had to make mistakes, okay? And then something about conflict. You are going to get conflict in your relationships, in your work projects. You're going to be given projects that you don't like, and there will be conflict. And it's all about managing conflict. Nobody says you need to be a saint, okay? We're not saints. We go to work, we interacting with diverse people, religion, race, creed, gender, everything. So there will be conflict. People won't want to do things the way you see it, and allow for the conflict to be explained, and then you need to handle it graciously, okay? Because conflict happens in the workplaces. How you handle the conflict will reveal your true character to those around you. My point here is never react when you're angry. I've had 1 or 2 of those outbursts, and let me tell you, it hurts your credibility. Where it took me 2 years, when I think I explained something in the meeting last time, where I had an outburst in a meeting where I felt that I was unfairly being blamed for something that didn't happen, or that was reported in a wrong way on a senior level. Because remember, when you're an executive, we have different ways of dealing with one another. So these were all senior people, and I reacted when I was angry. And when I look back, and I thought that was so out of character, but it happened, and I had to go and apologize and find a compromise. There's always a middle ground. It's never black and white. That's why you have yin and yang. You got to find a compromise. Maybe this time you compromise, next time the other person will have to give in. And Also, it's all about the end game. You want good results. You're looking at results at the end of the day. And lastly, when you are wrong, you got to admit it, and you can do it gracefully. Just say, you know what, I'm wrong. And you can test this even in your relationships at home. And it's so annoying. My husband always will come and say, you know, I'm sorry and all that. Then I've got nothing to fight about. It's so annoying. But when people say, look, I apologize, it was my mistake, there's nothing to fight about. You actually put them on a back foot. And yeah, your reputation, one of the other elements of this discussion, is key. Listen, if you aren't early, you are late. Okay? And be who you say you are and do what you say you'll do. I know a lot of people in my space that I can tell you if there's a meeting at 10 o'clock, they'll arrive at 10:30. We even joke about these things, which is not funny, because I spend a lot of time to get to work early, to do things correct, to be someone that delivers. And then you have this guy that's always late. But you know what? It catches up with them, because if we have to go on a trip or do something, he's branded and you get that label. And this is where I want to get to. Don't get that label that you can't be relied on, that you can't be dependent on, because they'll just say, no, he's always late. Don't even depend on him. Let's move to the next person. Okay. And never miss a deadline or commitment. So what is the right thing to do if you're not going to make your deadline? You need to communicate. There's nothing worse than sitting somewhere and waiting for someone to deliver something and they don't pitch or they don't bring it. Okay, so you need to make sure that when you have commitments and when you have said you are going to deliver something, you're going to do. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's in your family, in your kids, practice this. It's part of your credibility, okay? I said, be on time. This thing of Africa time and Indian time and I don't know what, honestly, it's frowned upon in the European countries. If you want to work in an international space or you want to work with other colleagues in a diverse environment, this is not going to cut. It's not going to work for you. Sooner or later, you'll get the message and you will be told, you know what, sit on the bench. You are unreliable. So I wanted to share this funny story with you. It's so awkward to talk on video now, because I'm very expression that I love expression and stuff. So Donald Trump had this tissue on his shoe, and you can go Google it. So he came from one place to the next, and he walked past his guard, like there's like people on the platform before you board the plane, almost like 100 of them. And there was this whole discussion. Even Trevor Noah made a joke about this, that imagine you the president of the free world country, the main guy. I mean, you are Mr. America. You are the most powerful person on this earth. And everybody lets you walk around with this tissue under your shoe. I'm going to leave it at that. And you make up your own mind about what I'm trying to say. If you have people in your corner and you have people that love you and respect you, they will never do that. Go and look at the videos and have a laugh. And when I was preparing this presentation, I thought I must put this in, because nobody wants to walk around with the tissue under their thing. Right, next chapter, be authentic. Oh, this is one of my most loved movies. I know all the lines. Every line in this, I think I've watched it like 20 times. I know all the lines in this film because I just love the mask. Be authentic. Guys, you can't be me. I can't be you. I've got my own personality. I've got my own way of doing things. Just be yourself. And you'll get to a point where you'll deliver in terms of your own style. You cannot emulate or copy other people. It doesn't always work. I've tried it and I failed miserably, because I tried to have a voice that sounds maybe a little bit of American and a little bit of that. This is me. Someone once told me, oh, you speak very flat. What they don't know is that I'm actually Afrikaans. I speak Afrikaans. My upbringing was Afrikaans. So if I come across with a flat funny accent and I don't cross my T's and dot my I's properly, it's because maybe I have a different way of speaking. But I try to emulate other people and it failed because you got to then keep up this persona of something that you're not. What is your blend? I say blend, but I mean brand. If somebody had to ask about you, or if there's a conversation about you in the room, what would they say? How bland are you? What do you carry that people think about you? And this is what you need to build your brand, you, that person. And branding yourself takes a lot of work. I'm not always in all the spaces where I go to Dr. Skeepers. I actually prefer to be myself, Natalie, and people that know me will know that. Some people will even be shocked to hear that I've got a doctorate because that's not me. My brand is me, my personality, things that I do. And you got to find your brand, okay? You can't be like this tin with no label. Not even Pick and Pay does that. They put their own labels on there, right? And the reason why you need that, you need your own signature, your own voice. We are not all made from the same conveyor belt, okay? So you're not a carbon copy. When you start developing your brand, your reputation, your credibility, you'll stand out, okay? It's not one size fits all profession, safety professional, right? I know in my space, there are people that I go to because I know that guy is good with this and that. Okay, if you had to choose, which one are you, Fabian? The left or the right? I'm sure you can unmute yourself. I just want to see what you think. Are you the left burger on my side?
Better both.
Which one are you?
The left one.
Nobody wants to buy this flat burger. They want something that looks like it's arrived, that is ready to be eaten. Okay, so think about it in that way. Presentation. I know we're in lockdown, but you know what? I made an effort. I put some makeup on. I made myself a little bit presentable. But presentation, guys, wherever you go, you are your own brand. You present yourself, what you say, how you talk, and how you deliver. This is you. I once went for an interview. Listen, if ever you had to be asked this question, are you a pen or a pencil? How would you answer that in terms of your own style, your own craft, and there's no right or wrong answer. It just depends on who's sitting on the other side and who's asking that. Now, I've been around this. I know when we interview CEOs for positions, I would ask him, so do you think you're a pen or a pencil? You know how that throws you off? If you haven't thought about it, you need to be so precise about what you think and what you know about yourself. Where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses? And how do you deal with both? Because a weakness can easily be described as a strength, but it says that you actually know yourself very well. And I had gone through a lot of things to find out who I am. What are the things that I can do and can't do? There's a lot of safety things. I can tell you now that if you ask me to do it, I'll tell you, ask Fabian, because that's not where I see myself doing that. Because I know if I'm going to do it, I'm going to flop. Right. So then I talk about this a lot because we are not the police, guys. Position yourself as a leader. Someone where even the CEO, when he has a problem, he must say, no, that guy, that Taylor, I want to speak to him because I heard him do a presentation the other day. You're not the police because you can only be a police when you have your badge and when you have your vehicle with lights and maybe your firearm. And when you have those things taken away from you, what are you? What do you say to people when you don't have those tools? Remember, police also have downtime. They also go home and put their stuff in the safe. We are experts. We are professionals. We don't go around policing people and pulling people around. And we have to work in an environment where we collaborate with others. And that's how you gain your credibility. Being reliable. And I say this a lot because I've been around and there's a lot of people in this industry that I can tell you now that I will not work with. I will not engage with them. because I know that they've dropped me with many, many, many projects or many situations, because it counts. If somebody thinks of, oh, I want to ask Fabian for this and that, what Fabian will say is, look, give me a day or two, I'll come back to you. And if you're going to do that, get back and say, listen, what you asked me for, that information, I really looked around, I can't find it. And inform the person even earlier if you can. Because all these people in your organization, they depend on you. They depend that you provide them with the smart information, smart ideas, you collaborate with them. And I've put human resources here because I work a lot with HR nowadays. And I impose on them to say that if you hire the right people from the beginning, we won't have problems within our processes, our systems. So you got to collaborate. Human resources is not an island. If you want safety to work, it starts at the beginning when they are engaged in the organization. If you want safety to work, you got to be in the corner of supply chain to make sure that they buy the right stuff, the correct things, the right sizes, the right specs, and advise them on that. I know we shy away because we don't want to seem like we've influenced supply chain or the procurement process. You got to. We influencers. That is part of being a professional. You got to influence. Okay? You can't sit on the fence and say, oh, let them buy whatever they think. No. We write the specs, we agree on the specs, and they need to run with the supply chain process. Even human resources, I see that sometimes they'll say, no, but if you're hiring a supervisor or someone that needs to do a certain job, there's no way that you can influence. You can influence on the functional expectations of that position. If the person is not able to climb upstairs, why would you even allow them to recruit someone where it's going to be a hazardous situation? Design of office space, it's going to happen now with COVID. You got to get in there and advise on how the layout of the office should be designed. Is it going to compromise exits? Is it going to compromise emergency evacuations? So your role is very important, okay? Communication, respect time and others, I've said that. Be honest in your dealing and value your values. Not everybody may have values. They say they do. But if you have your own values, then respect your own values, okay? If that is what you want to think, okay. So how committed are you? Some of you may know the story, the chicken and the pig. And who was most committed here? I think the pig, because he laid down his life for the situation. But yeah, the chicken can get more eggs. Let me move on. Sorry, guys, I just need to cough. Relationships fail because of trust issues. I mentioned trust earlier on. And commitment issues and communication issues. We need to work on those three. This is my favorite one. Do not burn bridges. Do not burn bridges. I'm telling you now, I've been there before. There's a few people that burned their bridge with me, and I'm not going to mend that bridge. And I'm not saying it arrogantly. This is about work, and it's about your relationships with people. It's my choice if I want to be in relationship with colleagues, friends, family even. But you don't burn those bridges. That means if you leave an organization or if you don't talk bad about management, just don't burn bridges, because you know how small this world is. I just saw in some of the participants here, one or two people that I know, it's a very small world. And people can just block you for no reason because they felt that you weren't honest in your dealings or you didn't do something for them. So don't do that. Rather be the last one to argue a case or to find a way to mend the fence, but it's important. We need to build bridges, right? Onboard people if we feel that somehow that our understanding and our discussions with them did not bear the fruits that you wanted. And I'm being very vague here because I can't deal with all the safety topics that you may have wanted to deal with. But that's why this is like a sort of career type of discussion. proactive versus reactive. Be proactive. If you think something is going to go down or going to happen, be proactive. Rather be that person that's going to be seen as a problem solver than coming afterwards. When I spoke about the substance abuse policies, now that we have to start looking at marijuana, I want to know how many of you have started looking at that and advising your organization that there's going to be certain policy changes that must be considered and not wait for the company CEO to call you. The value add, what is the meaning of value add? Right. If you see that sometimes there's pushback on your safety programs, it's probably because you are not adding value to the organization and they can't see how the dots are connected. How you're spending all that money, but there's no value. So you need to sometimes quantify the value that you're adding or sometimes qualify it. Okay, and if I say qualify, it means you can bring up some research or give reference to another organization that has done that, and so forth and so forth. Take the extra steps. Sorry. So key thing in that is when you're onboarding, you need to train the people that need to support your cause and bring them on board, because if they don't understand why we need to move from this piece of equipment to the next equipment that is more expensive, and there's no training provided, it's going to be very difficult for you to convince anybody. And may I say this, that sometimes the people that need the most training are actually your senior management. They never go for the training. They never attend training, and you need to find a spot in all their meetings to say, today we are going to discuss procedure X, Y, and Z, and make it as though it's compulsory, or you can put it in the policy that management must understand certain policies, okay? Because you want to achieve a common goal. You want them to run your race and their race, however blindly it might look to them that they don't understand, okay? Part of your success in your career and your credibility is lifelong learning. I'm not going to harp on this, but I think for me, it's very important that people learn new things, they understand new things, they develop their skills. I once had a coach, and if I had more time some other time, I would explain it more in detail, but you get to a certain extent or in your career where you think you've arrived, you know everything, you are bread and butter. And I had a lot of shortcomings in terms of my understanding of how organizations work, and that's why I'm so passionate, very passionate about this, because I saw the pitfalls. When I look back, 2020 vision is great, but it didn't help me then. It helps me now, because now I can see in terms of hindsight. And I had a coach, the company afforded me a coach, and she said to me, Natalie, go and learn something that you know nothing about. Go and take on a skill, a craft, and just learn something. Guys, I have an hour presentation where I can explain to you when I came out of that training and this thing that I did. I was so shocked, my behavior, my attitude, everything. So what I did, I looked around and I found a few things that I thought I could master. And first started sewing, it flopped within the first day, I never went back. Sewing, stitching, you know. The second thing I then said, okay, let me go and try photography. And that's what I stuck to. And the lessons from learning a new skill. So I'm technically a qualified photographer, but I don't practice the art of photography as a professional, but I know a lot about photography. I can take good pictures. And that's why you see all my wonderful slides, because I understand how the mind works now. But that journey, I had many, many nights where I used to cry because I could not understand this photography industry, the people I was with, the classes I had to attend, what shutter speed meant. That course rubbed me wrong in so many ways. I tell you, I came out there a gem, because when you think you've arrived, when you think you've done it all, go and try something new and see how you are actually at the bottom of the ladder. My people skills I had to work on, my engagement skills, my understanding skills, my observing skills, my communication skills, and the most important, empathy. Empathy when somebody doesn't know something. I just expected people to be on my level all the time. I expected people to know things I knew. When I walked in that class, I had to start zero. And that class were professional, they had professional people there as well. And they couldn't care where I started, how I started. My first irritation was when I walked in, they expected someone else of color because my surname is Skeepers. And yeah, I walked in. So that rubbed me wrong because I just expected people to be integrated and diverse. And the guy said to me, sorry, I think you're in the wrong class. And I said, no, I'm not. He said, well, just find yourself a seat and sit down. And guess what? I was like 5 minutes late as well. And that group of people did not appreciate that because I came in ruffling, rumbling, fiddling, looking for stuff. That's why I'm sharing this with you because, man, I've been through them all. Let me go. Okay. I can do it. You can do it, right? So we could have another session on really, really building and working on your personal skills, your things that you think you need to hone on. So you can do it. It's just you need to focus on your abilities, your skills, your knowledge, and read up a lot of things. I know that I love reading and it may not be your thing, but one chapter on something is important. So we all need mentors. We all need a coach. And wax on, wax off. You know the story, right? Karate Kid. We all need mentors. And if I ask you right now, who are you calling today? Who are you speaking? Who's got you in their corner? Who's showing you the crafts and the arts? Who's showing you how things are done? You must have a coach, even if it's something to do with outside of work, even if it's a diet or exercise, you need to have a mentor. And these people are there because they've gone through the mill, they know how things work, they've got life skills that can help you. I've got about 2 or 3. I've got an older guy that teaches me things, and sometimes I don't agree with him. And then I've got some young people in my space, very young people. And whoa, the things that I learn from these guys, it's like, I feel like I'm so old. But I mean, this is going to be our bosses one day. These 20-year-olds, they're going to decide our pensions. So we need to know, you know. I've got a presentation there where I teach on millennials and what they expect in the workplace. I had to do this for an organization of older people, and they were very angry with me when I did the presentation on millennials and how we need to receive them. I've got an excellent story, but I can't share that today, about recruiting millennials and how that turned out. So it's about reading, it's about finding something else to do, maybe a new skill in terms of what I said. I learned photography, going out there and trying a guitar. I don't know, it will certainly help you. And the concept of micro learning, I don't know if you know about it, it's a little bit every day. You don't need to chew this apple, the big apple. You don't need to read that book like some CEOs brag, 1 book a month, 52 books a year. Well, good for them. You can read 1 book the whole year. It depends on how complicated that book is. I had a book that I was reading for 6 months. It had to do about why, well, cold countries. The author kept on going back to Napoleon and this and that. And it really took me time and a lot of effort to understand what is the story all about. It was so complicated, but I finished that book in 6 months. Other people brag they did it in 1 month, but well, maybe I was just slow on the uptake. But that's me. So micro learning, it's a concept in the training and development arena. And a lot of HR companies are applying this where they give you bits and pieces of things to learn and understand. Almost done. Public speaking. If you want to do this, you got to do public speaking. Start with your family. And then you'll see why you shouldn't go to idols and do wooden mics. Start with your family. Pitch to them. Pitch to your friends. That's how I started. Pardon, some of you know NOSA. NOSA gave me my first platform, and I'm always grateful to them. I always go back and speak on that platform. to sharpen your skills. It's something that you got to learn to do. Everybody that speaks on a public platform had to start somewhere. We haven't arrived. Let me tell you, that thing about butterflies, it's still there. I'm sitting here and I'm presenting to you, and I still have butterflies. I haven't arrived. You got to work at it. You got to make sure that when you're presenting, how you pitch yourself, how you articulate yourself. It's not always going to be perfect, but I guess when you have an audience like yourself, I trust that if there's any mistakes I've made and all that, you'll give feedback. I give feedback, and I'll like sometimes say to Fabian, him and I had this discussion. I said, Fabian, now in future when you start writing articles, to help you with your credibility and your sources, start referencing. So that's the role that I would want to play and say, do this a little bit like that and all that. But if you want to go and do public speaking and your communication skills, get a mirror if you can't start with your family. It's difficult, as I know it is, but you need to work on that, on managing people. So there's a lot of resources out there, a lot of books. My favorite ones, these are the ones that I'm going to share with you today, is Udemy and the Open University. So I'm actually enrolled in 1 or 2 courses with the Open University, and it will take about 6 months with Open University to finish this course. It's got to do with cyber risk because I'm in risk management now, and I do a lot of risk things, and people don't have time to explain things to you. So I decided I'm going to enroll in this course, and I'm going to learn about cyber security. Very, very, very complicated and difficult things. But yeah, I'm in my 3rd week now, and I'm learning things that every day I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. So remember, what you have now does not matter anymore. So you've been there, done that, you got the t-shirt. You can't brag on yesterday's meal, what you did yesterday. Even in relationships, if your husband bought you flowers yesterday, that's what he did yesterday. So today he's got to be in another performance skill and level. So what I'm saying is that you need to sharpen yourself every day. So I'm doing this Open University, and Udemy also has a lot of open courses that are free. And you know what is nice? They give you a certificate because it's peer reviewed. So that's my tip for the day, right? Almost done. See that my time is ticking. Guys, safety procedures and permits and stuff, you need to get rid of the training wheels, okay? You need to start flying now on that bike. That's basics. Level 1, next level is now you need to start showing yourself as an expert. You understand things. If you're in South Africa and you are listening to this, I want to ask you guys, you need to know the legislation. If you're working with the OSH Act, you must know it like this. You must know every line, every chapter, every verse. And I'm not saying this because I do. I did know everything at one point, but I've gone a bit rusty. But I'm not in that space. But if that's your food and your bread and butter, you must know what you're talking about, okay? Just something on skills. This is a little bit old, but the World Economic Forum, these on the left-hand side of the presentation, these were the skills that they said, if you want to be successful, future jobs require you to be able to do complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, coordinate with others, emotional intelligence, judgment and decision making, service orientation. In other words, your customers are important, negotiation, cognitive flexibility. I think I've covered everything in the presentation if you were listening. So this is now 2020, and this was in 2015 when they delivered this. Now we're in 2020, and I'm asking you, how many of those line items can you tick? If not, you got to work on it, okay? Right. What kind of manager are you like? Are you a seagull? Are you a micromanager, showboat, a spin doctor, the absent manager, the pitchfork? So this slide is available for you to see which block do you fit in, okay? I don't want to dwell on that. Let me move on. Stephen Covey's highly effective, 7 habits of highly effective people. Begin with the end in mind. So I love this because when you look at the artist's impression of what a building is going to look like, I always look at it and said, how does he know it's going to come out exactly like that? Because you got to plan it accordingly. And that was in the artist's mind that this building must actually look like that. So there's stuff that you can go and read about. Okay, let me just skip that. Communication, culture of communication at all levels. So whatever your platforms are, be in the faces of people. Let them not forget you. Send out a WhatsApp, send out something that you read, send out a clip or article, but communicate and create that engagement in the platform. I know that some of us don't like to share our information, but when people start seeing you sending them stuff, next week, Monday, they're expecting, I wonder what Fabian is going to send me next. I used to do that. Every Monday I had this thing. I would send people random articles that I read. I would take pictures from the Sunday Times. I would take out articles. Some of them got very annoyed. It's like, do you really think I have time to read all this? I don't know. I'm just being a communicator. I just want you to know what I read and what impressed on me. And I'd like to share it. You don't have to read it, but I'm going to be that communicator. Okay, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. So having said that, and having sent stuff to people doesn't mean that I've communicated to them. I've shared information. I, at some point, need to ask them, listen, that article I sent you on the problems with so-and-so or in the workplace somewhere else, what did you think of it? Did you think it was interesting? I thought it would relate to our workplace. Do you have any feedback? So you got to draw back and get some information. I was in a situation once where toolbox talks were only for some certain senior management level of people in the organization. I changed it. I said, listen, anyone and everybody can bring a conversation to the table. And if you read something somewhere, let them present. And you would see how creative people are, how flexible they are in their thinking. Some guy brought a cup once and he explained to the group how the cup was made and the safety elements in the cup and so forth. Somebody brought an article they read, somebody brought a family. Why do we think and why are we so dogmatic? Remember that word? When we think certain jobs are only for certain people. You need to allow everybody to participate and be around the table. Right. Communication. Yeah. It's also important. Who's it coming from, right? We don't always expect our leaders to communicate, but we can change that. Then there's certain things in the workplace which you need to identify, which can create barriers to communication. One that I want to just talk about quickly is language. And I'll share a very simple story. I went to a workplace once and I prepared all this material that we were doing some changes in the organization. And I spoke English and everything was in English and I did presentations in English. And after like 30 minutes, I looked at these people and they're like, looking at me like, what is this woman talking about? I was in the Northern Cape area and most people there, I didn't know. This was now my stupidity. I should have done my homework. This is way back. I try to be better now. They said to me, ma'am, okay, now everything you've said can be in Afrikaans. And I was shocked because I thought, here I'm in an environment and there's mostly Black people, I should be speaking English. But the language and the preference for command was Afrikaans. I didn't do my homework and I just made assumptions about the people in front of me. And the Afrikaans was much better than mine. And I couldn't communicate. I had to ask one of the managers now to be like an interpreter because my workplace knowledge and what I prepared was all in English. And there was no ways that I was able to do that in Afrikaans. I failed because I failed to understand that there are certain barriers to communication. And one of them, the key thing in South Africa is language. And you got to find out who your audience is, right? Okay, so listening, understanding what other people's issues are. This is just a simple thing to say that when you are in a room with people, actually pay attention. Keep quiet. That's why you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You need to listen to other people and you'll hear what comes out of their mouths. I've had to practice this because I'm very bad at this. I used to be. So now I practice listening to other people. Okay, right. Collaboration with others. I mentioned this earlier on when you're working with supply chain, with HR, with finance. Be a team player, okay? And identify the key players in the organization. So you know who are the deal makers, people that actually have the ear of the CEO. I knew that in one organization, there were two people. If I had them in my corner, the CEO would agree to most of the things. He will ask me all the time, did you speak to X? Did you speak to Y? So you've got to read, you know, you've got to read the room. You've got to read who the people are, who are the gatekeepers. We call them the gatekeepers. Even your PAs in your organizations. Those people are so powerful. They'll let you in on a meeting or not. So you need to be nice to them. Be proactive, negotiate for the good. And almost done. Please, whatever you do, keep notes and records. I promise you, I can show you my books. I have these black hardcover books like in school for every organization that I was in. From that year, I would write the date on that book and the month and the meetings I went to. Keep notes and records, because when you need to account for what was said, your notes and your records will add value and credibility, and it will actually be a testimony, and it's actually valid. It's a valid piece of document that can be incorporated in any hearing, any discussion. Not hearsay, not what somebody told you, or not what you think you can remember. So I have a pile of these books, and I was thinking the other day, shucks, from 2007, do you think I should get rid of them? I don't know. I'm still holding on to it. I'm hoping to make sense of what was going on in my life there. And I went through it the other day nostalgically, and I'm thinking, wow, the stuff I was scribbling and the stuff I was writing. I found a page in there where I actually wrote out that one day I'm going to do my PhD. This is 2007, guys. So I was like shocked when I saw it. And I never, ever, ever bothered with that book. You know, I was just going through it. But there were other elements of work-related things. When I look back and I'm thinking, did I do this? Did I say this? Did I achieve this? And I'm like, wow, I'm stunned, because you actually don't realize the things that you've done and where you've come from. So you've got to document your information. Let's say you want to write that book now. You're ready to write that book? Go back to your workspace and the things that you've documented. You'll find a lot of value in that. Okay, my time's up. Thank you for listening and watching my presentation. I hope I didn't bore you. I can be more funnier than what I am now. I actually have a very good sense of humor. So what can I say? I'm finished. If you have questions.
Thank you.
What do I do?
much.
Do I mute?
Thank
Do I
you.
mute and stop the video, basically?
Yeah, you can stop the video. I'm just going to open up now to questions, and obviously you can answer. And then any comments from anybody, and then we can close the session. But once again, Dr. Natalie Skeepers, thank you very much. We really appreciated your time and efforts, and I think everybody enjoyed it. Thank you. Okay, we'll open up the floor now to any questions, any questions or any statements pertaining to the presentation that Natalie shared with us. So opening it up now.
Fabian.
Yes, sir.
For me, loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Hi, Joseph.
Hi, Natalie. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for joining again.
Thank you. Fabian will call you on the side.
I see my old friend Tumelo. Say hello, Tumelo. I love this guy to bits.
Tumelo Laburu. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him
He's such a
coming
gem. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Joseph. Anybody else, please? Any questions? Please feel free to raise your question or any statements. If there's nothing, then we can close the session.
Absolutely. But thank you very much. The fact that there's no question doesn't mean that you don't want to ask. It means either that you enjoyed or you want to talk to me offline. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I know it's difficult, but it's great. Thank you for the opportunity.
But at least find the supplier that is actually sustainable, because they also ask about.
Okay, I heard somebody talking.
I
there, I'm
didn't hear
not
the
sure.
question. No, it was looking like he's talking about work.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's fine. Thank you very much,
Okay, guys,
Natalie.
thank you very much. Thank you,
appreciated.
Fabian.
Thanks a
Thank
lot. We
you.
really appreciate
Bye-bye.
for sharing your knowledge.
Okay,
Much
bye.
appreciated. Bye.